Okay, I've cleaned up my project a bit so that we're looking at just the BRT again, and contour I still have here for if we need something else. And I wanted to, it seems that I've forgotten one or two things to tell you about. One of the things is the GML. Uh, if nobody actually uses GML, why should we use it? And the thing is, we chose in the Dutch government, we chose to do as much as possible along open standards. And GML is an open standard, and it is bloody difficult one to use, but it is open. Everything is described. But for a real good understanding of GML, you also need the XSD, the style sheet definition. Style sheet? The style definition. Uh, because in an XML you could do anything you'd like, and a GML is just an extra again to XML. So it is extremely difficult to use in a correct way, but it is everything is described. So that means that every software manufacturer can build their own stuff to use the GML in a correct way. Um, the other way, for example, is how CAD programs do that, is that they have industry standards. For example, the DWG, the drawing format, and the DXF, those are the industry standards. That means that if you don't use Autodesk stuff, you probably end up with something that is not 100% correct because they never very well described the DWG standard. And if you're using MicroStation, the same thing goes for the MicroStation design file, the DGN. That is not described as well. It's not an open format. So that is kind of it's a trade-off between usability and ease of use, or being standards compliant and making sure that everybody can, not only the ones that have the correct software. So that's why we use GML as a transport mechanism to exchange data, but nobody actually uses GML. As soon as we get GML in, we try to make it into something that we can use again. Now, GeoPackage is also an open standard, so it could be that in the near future that geodata will be exchanged much more through GeoPackages. But there are some companies that do not fully support the GeoPackage yet because it is a relatively recent development. So it might be that that might come. I'm looking forward to that, but for now we have to use GML. So that is for formal geoinformation. There's also the more informal geoinformation. And informal, we're looking, for example, at OpenStreetMap. And we're doing a project now in the Netherlands. And in the Netherlands, we have, all these data sets, we have them nicely lined up and you can use them. But there are so many other places that do not have this rich open data structure that we have here. And I'm looking at different countries, and within Europe, we have everything pretty well organized. Also, through the Inspire directive, that we said, okay, these are the things that we really have to open up our data. But there are other data sets and data types and other places in the world where, well, data is, for example, proprietary. Government doesn't want to open it up, or there's a company working on that who doesn't want to open it up. So in that case, we're looking at OpenStreetMap data a lot. Now, if I go to OpenStreetMap, I use Google a lot, but also OpenStreetMap. Welcome to OpenStreetMap. And you can zoom into, for example, Delft again, and you can see that there's a very nice map. Now, OpenStreetMap, for those who do not know it, it is the map that we make as people. Nobody tells you what to map or what not to map. There's, of course, some checks and balances involved, but otherwise you're allowed to add your own data. If for example, in this case, you want to say, yeah, this is not a hockey field, this is also a football field, change it to a football field, and next time you look at it, it's a football field. So there you can add your own data to this. But in the meantime, because everybody in the world is doing this, this is the best map of the world. If you look at the world as a total, not at a specific point somewhere, but if you look at the world maps, this is the best one, most complete one. Let's have a look at our project area here. For example, here you see that even the cemetery here, Jaffa, is every footpath is included here. The monuments, the water taps, and here at the you even see there's an espresso bar in the architecture building. I mean, that is not something that we would have in our formal BGT data. So this might be interesting to look at as well. And for example, we have been looking at water. So let's have a look at how this water here is being set up. So here you see you have the canal, and you see that as a line feature. If I mouse over, you can see the line coming in here. So there's a line feature here, and that will probably be used for navigation purposes. There's also, as you can see here, the second one, water. This is a polygon, so that colors the water here. And there's a residential area, yep, that's there, and there's a relation here, and there's a quarter, and there's another quarter that, you know, the two areas. So, but let's have a look at this water attribute. You can see this is just one big water object, and here you can see this is edited 24 days ago, so it's pretty recent. Somebody called Adverburg changed it. Here's the change set to that, and you can see here the tags. These are comparable to what we use in GIS, and there's a tag called natural, and the value of the tag in this case is water. So this is interesting, natural water. Let's have a look at our QGIS to see how that would work out. We've got a plugin here in QGIS called Quick OSM. And Quick OSM allows you to download data from OpenStreetMap. So let's have a look at that. And here you can see there's a quick query. And this is my favorite because I'm lazy and quick things always work nice for me. So we have a key here. So I look up this key natural. Yep, it's here. And there's values here, query on all values. Nope, let's just do water. So we have the key natural, the value water, and we have to give the boundary of the area that we're looking at. For example, in this case, I'm looking at the canvas extent. I could also do that for a layer extent for one of the layers, but canvas extent is it's just this area. That's good. Run query. Let's have a look where this comes up. Look, we've got purple water. Excellent. I'm just switching off the lines and points layers, just a polygon layer. So here we have the water according to OpenStreetMap. So this is a bit different. If I identify one of these objects, for example, let's go back to this again. You can see this has it is water. It has a name. It's called kalk, and it is here's the field natural with the tag, the value water. And there's the name tag again, and there's an OSM type, and it's away. Okay, so this is the water from OpenStreetMap, and this way you can also download all kinds of data from OpenStreetMap directly into your project. As you can see here, there's one big water object running all the way through to Rotterdam. Right. So I'd like to add that to our thing, and in this case, it is probably more or less the same as the water in the BGT, but not quite the same. As you can see, there's little differences. Some things are missing. Some things are a bit different in shape. And this is always the part where I look at if I see differences between two registrations. I tend to have a look at the aerial picture and the most recent one, to see if, there's not much to see here, but there could very well be water there. Not sure about that. There could very well be water, but yeah, might be. I don't know. It's One of the nice things of these aerial images is that they are mostly shot in May, June, July, so that you see all the green areas very nicely. One of the backdraws from that is that you don't see through the trees because, well, that in that time of year, all the trees are green, of course. Okay. So let's have a look at visualization. I just wanted to add the OpenStreetMap stuff, but for now that's probably enough. So let's look at the visualization of specific areas. And if you look at a city area, if you look at the city area, this image of the large scale map is always a bit, it's bland, it's flat, and it's the red is ugly and everything. So let's change that. And there's a few small things you can do to make the map just have that little extra. Let's start at water because that's a pretty easy start. If I look at my styling, you'll see that most of these are probably waterloop. Yeah, as you can see. I'll switch the aerial off there. So you can see the water there. Let's change that a bit and let's give that one a little extra. It's not much, but one of the things you could do here, you can see this is a whole rule. You see, class is waterloop, etc. You could also have a different way. All the water, all the waterdeel, so all the parts of water, just mixed together in one. But here it is split out over the different options. But what we could do here, for example, is that if you look at the filling, you could also add a draw effect here. If you tick this box, you'll see that there is also some small draw effects. Now, one of the things I tend to use with water is an inner shadow so that the water feels like it's a bit lower. Of course, it's not actually lower, but just an effect to show people that it might look a bit different. You could change the size of that as well if you want. Make it a bit smaller so it's more subtle, so don't that people don't notice that it is actually something changed, but well, it works. Now here, wait for it. There's a tunnel there. It's only being shown at a certain level. Here you can see that might, come on, put the water on top. Oh, that's ugly. Here you can see that this consists of more parts and every part's got its own shadow. And that's a bit, yeah, I'm not really entirely happy with that. So let's see if we can work with that as well. Thank you, Stefan. One of the other things you could do is you could take the contour out. That might help as well. If you have the stroke to no pen, no, it doesn't work here really. So you might, if you want to visualize it this way, you could combine these objects and make it into one. This is a terrible example where this really doesn't work very nice. In other places, this does work. But for example, especially with smaller areas here, you can see this is nice. You could also add a little shadow, of course, to your buildings. So let's make the buildings stand out a bit more. I'm going to change this anyway. I'm going to just delete these two and change this one, take the scale range off so that they always show no matter if I zoom out or zoom in. And do the same thing here. So I add a draw effect. In this case, I'm not using an inner shadow, but a drop shadow, and these buildings come out a bit more. So it gives us just a small 3D effect. It is not really 3D, it is fake, of course, but it might help you just have a small shade extra. Let's see, this is to get a bit more depth into your visualization. You could also say, well, I don't like this red. And of course you don't like this red. Nobody does, unless you're colorblind probably. Um, I have really something against these formal color styles that force you into something. So you could change this. And of course you can just change that, make it into a nicer looking color that works. But you could also change the whole object. For example, I've done, oh, wait, I did something wrong here. Let's go back to this one. I've downloaded a couple of styles. There's and this is a nice one. This is called a cartoon, where you can change your buildings into a more cartoonish style. That might work as well. So I'm expecting a lot of cartoon style buildings in the near future. By the way, the website for that is what was that again? QGIS styles. This is pretty recent. No, it's wait. Styles. See if I can find it here. Visual style guide. No, that's not the one. This one. The plugins. It is on the plugin site, but it is not here. It is whatever. Yeah, it is here. More icons updated. Yep, this is the. No, that's not the one. Oh, come on. Yeah, it's this one. This is plugins.qgis.org/styles. Okay. Sometimes it's hard to find if you don't know exactly. Here you can see there's, and this one, this is a new page. It might be that it will change to a different location in the near future, because if you look at the upload date, you can see that it is quite a recent development. There's a lot going on here, starting at the 10th of November. So this is just 2 weeks old. So you're pretty up to date now, and you can see that people are just adding their styles that they made and that they're interested in and that they think that look nice. So you can just, in this case, I downloaded this style and I added that to this guy, Topi Chukhanov. It's a Finnish guy. He does so many nice styles. He just added a few here, but he's always surprising in what he makes. It's a great example. In this case, he made this one, and you might think that, well, there's a lot going on here with all the lines and everything, but you can also see there's some randomizing stuff going on here because the buildings change a lot. That's not the only thing he did. He also did a randomizing on the fill color. For example, you could say, well, blue is not the basic color for a building, so let's change that to a more stony color. So let's have a look at that. And I wanted to change the fill color, and you can see here, because this is yellow, so there's a data override going on here. Let's have a look at how this looks. I'll edit this one. And the data override in this case means that it has an RGB value. So it needs an RGB value. And it does it this way through this function with a random value for red, a random for green, and a random for blue, but it is random within certain margins. So what we could do is we could take the green and the blue a bit down. And then it should be a more building-like color. You might notice, I'm not sure if my screen sharing works this way, is that these buildings have a very slight difference in color, all of them, because of that randomness. And that gives a little extra depth to your data. And every time I refresh the site, you see the color changing a tiny little bit. Oh, sorry. And that I find that effect very interesting. And of course, it has nothing to do with the actual color of the building, but it is a nice effect. So let's have a look at the the noun project. Oh, that is such an excellent example, Patrick. Thank you for sharing that. The noun project is really nice. I've had so many SVG symbols already downloaded from that area. It's a really good thing. The only thing is that if you download an SVG object from the noun project, you always get the information from the maker. The, let's say, the copyright notice. It's all Creative Commons license, uh, and the license for everything from the noun project is by attribution. That means that if you use someone's work, you have to tell people that you use their work. That is good practice, especially in science, and you're working in science now, or you're studying in science. So yeah, you should do that, but it should not be in every symbol, especially if you use a symbol, for example, a light, or something, or a tree, and you use a symbol for a tree, and you have 250 trees in your view. Don't put 250 times the name of that person in the map, actually, but use that as a kind of a copyright notice on the side, a tree symbol designed by, and give the full name. Do that because it is really nice to do so. You're obliged to do so, but it's also nice to do, and it's good practice. But you have to go through Illustrator or whatever software you're using to cut the name from the actual SVG image. Yeah. You want to add to that, Patrick, or did I explain it well enough?
Yeah. I had some experience with the website as well, and I had to put it into the sources every time of course. But it is quite handy. As I discovered it, I used it quite a few times. So just wanted to share that because
Yeah.
of the styles.
Yeah, and you probably be thinking, okay, so if you want something, you just add a noun, any noun you can use. I think that's why it's called the noun project. Any noun, and it will come up with terrible
Lots of
number
things.
of, yeah, it will kill all your free time.
Yeah, it already did. It's
Yeah, yeah. I would suggest just pick the first one you like, and don't go looking for a better one. There's always a better
yeah.
one, but don't go looking for a better one. Just pick the first one you like. One thing I've been looking at is I would like to have a top view of a tree. So something you always see in design maps, that you have this little.
I did find that actually. Hmm, I have to look in all the projects, and I
But
can share
they're
that.
always,
But
as you can see, most 99% of here there's well, but that's not what I'm looking for.
yeah,
But
they're mostly for sections and not for mapping. So
yeah,
that's right.
so if
But
you
you can find something. You have to look like for PDOK, maybe for something more specific,
yeah,
and then you'll find it.
yeah, within the uh, Dutch data. Nice, this tree map. It's a map symbol. Yeah, not everything is a map symbol like that. That's weird. No, here this could. Yeah, it's a bit. It's wintry, isn't it? This one. Yeah. Okay, let's say let's cut this out because this is terrible. But there are so many things to add to your map and to make a nicer look and feel to it, because you're looking at exactly the same data that we had before, but this one looks so much nicer already. Um, and if we add the roads to this, we could do something similar with the roads. Um, because, well, the roads, yeah, well, let's have a look at the roads. Uh, as you can see there, this is the formal one. And if we would do, for example, the regional roads, we could make a kind of an asphalt like filling, depending, of course, on if it is asphalt or if it's stones. But this one, so let's see what could we do. We could make that into let's start with a kind of a gray. No stroke, please. No pen. But we could add to that perhaps a kind of a grain into it as well. So we could add a second layer, because you can combine your symbols. And this one, for example, should be well, let's say a random kind of a random fill. Well, as you can see, there's a quite option always. I could do something with a point pattern perhaps. Well, then not this one, not a simple marker with a point pattern, but it should be a random marker fill maybe, and then not a red dot, but let's make that into kind of a blackish thing, and not a dot, but a smaller symbol perhaps. Just make this one a bit smaller, like this. And then add much more, of course, to this, because this is now a random thing. You could add more to that. Oh, fuck. I don't remember where this was exactly. Oh, here. Let's say density based, like this. Yeah, but then make it a lot more, but make them a lot smaller as well again. So you have kind of a pattern going on your roads as well. This is just an idea that this way you can combine different fills in your map. As an idea, what I did last week on this, let's make a new one. So open a new QGIS project. Let's see if I can get that project back. Last week I did something terrible with a map of the BGT, and I'd like to share that with you as well. Let's see if I have that. So there's a new empty one. Let's see if I, yeah, it's this one. This is a part of Zoetermeer that I did for a project in order to show people that even if the data is really, you know, this is the formal data. This is the one you've been looking at as well. But there's also a way of doing this totally different with exactly the same data, and then it looks like this. And you see, I've used randomizers for the tree, for example, which are just ellipses with an X and a Y X that have a little randomizer in it. So every time I change the position, I refresh the data, the trees have a slightly different shape. Yeah, this is, my computer really doesn't like this one. And I've changed the font, of course, to a font called Mystery. And I said, you know, even if you have a very thorough, very detailed, formal map, you could make something nice out of it. If for children's parties where they have a lovely. So there's so many opportunities for maps to be added to. And I even said something here. Oh yeah, this one. This is for. See if this one works out nice. Yep, this is for night mapping. I mean, yep, this is how it is lightened. These are all the lichtmasten, what I call light poles. So this is night mapping, and this is during daytime. Yeah, sure. Okay. What time is it? 18. So we have another, let's say, 15 minutes or so for questions on mapping and on visualization as well, if anyone has. See. Don't see anything coming in yet. One of the other things you could do is, for example, let's check out the layout then, because if you've mapped a project like this, it might be that you're done with it and you need this into your project. So you want this into your project documentation and you want this area. And there's always, of course, the screen capture option, but that might not be the option that you're looking for. So if you want to make a more formal map, you go through the layout manager, which is this one. And the layout manager allows you to browse through the maps you made from this project. Yep, there's nothing here yet. So you can make an empty layout or a specific layout if you have a template ready. Now we don't do a template here, so we just have an empty layout. We create an empty layout. We give that one a nice name. Let's do the campus map here. And here we have our map project, and that is, as it is said, it's an empty map. So you have to think about your map first. And this is, now first we look at the paper. You see the page properties here. And you can see it's an A4 map on landscape orientation. So you have here, you have the different sizes. It could be that you're looking for a map that should fit a report. So it's just an image on in a report. In that case, for example, you could say, well, let's make that an image of 10 by 10 centimeters. This is in millimeters, as you can see. So it's 100 by 100. So this is a square map of 10 by 10 centimeters. It could be that this is what you're looking for. So you can change this any way you like, just by right-clicking on the canvas and changing the page properties. Okay, so we have changed this now. Let's look at it full screen. First thing you have to add is a map. These are all the things you can add to your layout. First thing is you add your map. You just draw a square somewhere. Well, this is of course exactly the 10 by 10 centimeters. So let's make this into a full size, no borders or anything. And here you can see the actual map. Now there are a few things you can have here on the right. The most important one, and that's the only one I have now, is the item properties. And these are the item properties for the thing that we have selected, which is currently the map. Now let's have a look, because there are some questions coming in. Add icons and SVGs to QGIS. Yes, okay, yeah, I can do that first. Save presets like this to use them another time. For a project that have the same kind of style, yeah, that too. Second, and if you can click the floppy icon, you can save the template. Yeah, no, you're answering already. Let me get back to this. I'll come back to this map in a minute, because the SVG, that is probably more important currently. One of the things, for example, if you have this style and there's the presets like this, for example, this style, what you can do, and in this case we have this whole style now. No, it's where is it? Buildings. Yep. No, that's the point. This one. This, I don't know why this still looks like that, because I've changed this. This is really strange. Did I change something else? No, I changed this one, didn't I? Yeah. Why does it still show this one? That is so weird. Maybe I should, okay. A refresh thing again. So I've got this style now here. What I could do, if I want to copy this style to something else, I could just do style, copy style, all style categories, and paste it to another object type. I could do that. For example, I could do that to the contour that I have here. So I can paste style, all style categories. Now this one looks the same way. So you notice this small lines along the border. So this one now has same. So that is if you have it within the same project. If you want to save this style for future use, what you could do is you could go to the properties of this layer, and here's a small style button, and you can save your style. And this allows you to to save it as a QGIS QML style, or you could also save this again in your geo package. But in this case, we could export it to a QML style. You could give this a small name somewhere. For example, in my on my desktop, I'll just use this. This is the cartoon buildings style. And now I have that style saved somewhere, and you can use it in another way again. Same thing. For example, if we want to do this water with that style, we can go to the properties here. We go to that style button again. We can load the style from file. Yes, please. And we point to that style here, cartoon buildings, and we load that style, and you see that this one has exactly the same thing. However, well, does this work? Yeah, this works immediately. So you see, let's switch this one off and this one. So here you can see now the water has that exact same style that we used before on the buildings. So yeah, that answers your questions, Esme. Excellent. Now the SVG icon, that is a different thing. Let's have a look at for example, an SVG it's a symbol. So for an SVG, this is the question from Montserrat. For the SVG, most of the time you're looking at a point layer. So let's have a look. If there's a point layer here somewhere, do we have points in this layer? Yeah, just a few. So for example, here we could have a symbol on these points. So if we have an SVG somewhere, let's have a look. Normally what you would do first is use the SVG symbols that are within QGIS. So if we change the simple marker to an SVG marker, and within QGIS, there's a lot of SVG images here already. So if you click one of these, this will become your marker now. I'll enlarge that a bit. And you can see that this SVG marker is now used as a point symbolizer. If you have your own SVG, you can add one because here you can see this is the location that this symbol is on your hard disk. But you could also pick your own one. So you can just click one. Those are the ones from SVG. Let's see if I downloaded something. Here I've got a nice sign, a traffic sign. That's the parking symbol that I used in the map that I showed you before. So now we're looking at an SVG symbol as a marker symbol for point layer. So this is how you can add your own SVG. So first, change your marker symbol to an SVG marker instead of a simple marker. That is the default option. Then scroll down and pick your own SVG here. And of course, if you don't like this symbol, you can also add another effect to that, for example, small drop shadow, so that it will look a bit three-dimensional again. Yep, Montserrat answers. Yeah, that answered your question, as I can see. Then I make copy paste the data of attribute layer from one layer to another. Yeah, that Stellantis, that might be a bit of a problem, because if you're looking at attributes, the two layers, if you copy your data from one layer to another layer, the data set should be prepared to have the same fields in it. So for example, in this contour layer, the one that we just added as a temporary layer. Oh, sorry. If I look at the attribute table, this is a totally empty table. So if there's no fields defined or anything. So if I copy something from another layer, objects from another layer to this layer, yeah, the tables don't fit together. So you're probably messing up your tables then in that case. However, if you want the geometry to be copied, that is probably not that hard, because what I could do, for example, let's see if I use this one again, and this one is editable, and I have the natural water, and I could copy an object from this one, and I don't know if this should be editable then, but if I select this object, and in this case, the object, and I could copy this object probably, copy selected rows. That might not be the right one. Yeah, I could just Control C and Control V that into this one. Let's see if that one works. No, not yet. It should be. No, it doesn't work that way. Maybe if I started editing this one as well, and oh, wait for it. Now it's editable and it's selected. Control C, change to this one, Control V. Should it be in here now? No, not yet. No, I know it kind of works, but I have to look that up. I'm sorry about that, Samantha. That I have to check that one first because it's not going by itself. Any other questions? Oh yeah, we're looking at map. I stop editing this because that will mess everything up, all the editing. I had this one on and we were looking at this map. Okay, so back to the map. We have a 10 by 10 centimeter map. We have our project area in it, but this is, as you can see, the contours here are too wide for the situation. So the scale for this map for these buildings is probably better on 1 in 5,000. And oh yeah, sorry, we should switch the contour off. Just use the BGT. Yeah, that would be better. Refresh. Yep, this one. Back again. Better. So here we have the project. Now, if you want to have the architecture building in here, if you start moving your content, you move the whole map. So don't do that. Move the insides by using this button, and then you can look around a bit. So here's the architecture building. So let's have that one centrally. So you can see we have the architecture building, we have some of these water areas. Now this map is ready to be exported to your paper, for example. Then you can export as image or export as PDF if it's a map on itself. But in this case, you'll export this probably as an image. And you see it will get the name of the map, in this case campus map, and you'll put it somewhere. And there you go. Let's have another question. Not sure if it's feasible. It's possible to put coordinates from Google Maps on QGIS to use Google Maps on QGIS. Well, yes and no. Nice question, by the way. Very nice. Let's have a look. If you want to have Google Maps in your QGIS project, you can add that as a service as well, because Google doesn't really allow you to download the data and use it as a vector data set, or most of the time, yeah, it is possible, but that is really hacking your way into that data. But what you can do is add that as a web service. There's a plugin called Quick Map Services, and that is the one that you can add your Google Maps layers on your QGIS project. So in this case here, you can see all the plugins come in different places. This one comes under the web menu, and also here, by the way, on these buttons. But you have the Quick Map Services, and you go to the Google entry here. So you can add these Google map layers as services to your project. So the standard one is, I think, Google Hybrid or Google Road. I'm not sure about that. Let's have a look. It will come as a background layer. Let's put that one on top for now. You can see this is the Google Maps layer here. What you could do in order to see what's underneath it, of course, again, is use the blending mode. In this case, multiply, so that you can see the labels from all the Google map things combined with your other data set. this is the difference between those two. So yeah, you can use Google Maps in QGIS, but only as a surface and not really as a data layer as such that you can change yourself. Hope this helps. That was a much easier question, by the way. Well, the other one looks like, okay, I could just copy paste it, but it's
It's an easy question, not an easy solution.
yeah, it looked easier, yeah, indeed.
But probably when you have a coffee break, then you will think like, oh, well, this is the answer for this.
Yeah, of course, I'll look it up in the next break, which is coming up right now.
Yeah, and please provide input. As you can see, for us, it's much easier to reflect on that than just to beam the things we want to tell you. The things we want to tell you, we will put in the tutorials.
Yeah.
These sessions are meant for additional information, showing you on the fly. And you're also allowed to share your screen. If you have questions, if you have specific workflows, you want to explain how you do something and you get stuck, tell us, share your screen. And we will together we will have a look at it and come with solutions. Yeah, and it can be something to help you out, but it can also be something you want to share with the group. Like, oh, I know something which is very useful for this, because we have certain approaches. We have learned it. We do it a certain way. We try to learn it a certain way now, but there might be 5 or 10 other ways to do it. So feel free to join.
Yeah, exactly. And in this case, we've discussed on beforehand that the fourth block, so the next 45 minutes session will be mostly on Rhino. But if you have any QGIS questions, just ask them, because we're here, both of us now. So yeah. Yep.
And I haven't prepared anything for Rhino, so let me know. I mean, it doesn't make sense for me to repeat what I've done in the tutorial movie. So please come with concrete questions. I have both the Mac and the Windows version running at the moment. So let's see.
Yeah, and I'll try to come back on the copy objects as well.
Great.
Okay. See you in 10 to 12.
10 to 12?
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Good.
See you in 12, 30 minutes.